outcries continue over the death of George Floyd. Last night, people protesting in
Stop
Minneapolis
letting people talk you out of your power.
How do we build a movement that allows us to respond to all the names that people don't know?
People begin to think it's isolated. That's the problem. We're not angry enough.
This is Life After the Impact, a podcast for impacted families by impacted families that focuses on what happens after the media, the lawyers, and the activists are gone.
When the cameras are gone, people leave. We have to be there for each other.
Impacted families are left to face the loss of a loved one to police-sponsored violence. We will focus on their continued fight for justice and how you can get involved.
I tell families, fight.
Everybody can do something, that you don't have to sit home and feel helpless and hopeless.
We gotta stop allowing people to talk us out of our power. That's the main thing.
Can't change overnight, but we gotta start somewhere. Might as well go ahead, start here.
Good evening. This is Life After the Impact. It's Tuesday evening. So I'm Roxane Johnson. My son's name is Jamal Byrd. He was killed by DC Metropolitan Police October 1st, 2019. I'm here with my lovely co-host this evening. How you doing, LaToya?
What's up, Roxane? You guys, my name is LaToya Benton. I am the mother of the beautiful Xavier Hill. Xavier was killed January the 9th, 2021 by two Virginia State Troopers at the age of 18. Tonight, we are joined by the lovely Miss Ashley McKenzie. Ashley, want to give a brief intro of yourself, please, and your son as well, please?
Yes. I am Ashley McKenzie Smith, and my son was Jaylin McKenzie, 20-year-old from Atlanta, Georgia, killed in Memphis, Tennessee on December 16th, 2022 by Memphis Police Department while he was just with family members riding, doing a traffic stop while he was visiting.
Yeah, and these, no matter how many times we have these discussions, they're always difficult to have. But our discussion tonight, we want to start it off by having what we kind of said in our pre-production as a mental health moment. And what I would like to talk about briefly is this thing called learned helplessness. And learned helplessness happens when you have a number of uncontrolled bad events. Some people call it trauma. You have a number of those and you feel like you have no control over them. You start to have this generalized sense of helplessness that you can't do anything to change your the trajectory of what's happening in your life, even when there's some hope that you could possibly change the outcome if you just put forth the effort. What we find a lot in mental health and a lot in our community, quite frankly, because we have been traumatized so much, that we do tend to have that sense of learned helplessness. But the good news is this: any behavior you learned, you can unlearn and put a new behavior in place. Right. And so as we're talking about this topic tonight of pro se and filing a pro se procedure, I would like for those in our audience who have that can recognize that they might be having a sense of learned helplessness. Listen to our sisters this evening talk about how they overcame that and they were able to do something in a situation that gave them hope.
So learned helplessness, you guys, you heard Roxane say, Roxane, that was beautiful. Just the definition of that too, like you just said again. So the topic tonight, you guys might be wondering why she's talking about that. If you look at the topic tonight, we have Ashley on the podcast tonight to talk about filing pro se. Many of you guys are aware, you may not be aware. I myself filed Xavier's case pro se meaning filing without representation of an attorney. Oftentimes when this happens to us within the community, we have a statute of limitations. It varies by state of how soon you have to file a lawyer in order to file a wrongful death suit. Oftentimes, if your case is not a slam dunk, they ain't gonna take it, right? So we identify ourselves in either the state of helplessness or being an achiever and maybe going over that hill and filing pro se. Ashley, you want to go on and speak about what caused you to file your case pro se for Jaylin?
Well, so what happened to us, we ended up with two different attorneys. The first attorney we decided to drop just because it wasn't a good fit. Then we ended up getting another attorney that was highly recommended, and we ended up getting dropped about 3 weeks before it was time, before our statute of limitations. And if we didn't do something really fast, in the state of Tennessee, you only have 1 year, whereas in some states you may have 2 years to file a complaint. So we had to jump into action really, really quick. And if we didn't, then we wouldn't be able to file civil. We wouldn't be able to do a lot of different things that we needed to do for Jaylin's case. So that's what got us moving, is that we didn't have any representation. We was at the very end of the mark to file a complaint, and we had to move really, really quick on something. So we decided to file pro se.
Now, I'll say for me, it wasn't even a matter of even getting dropped, right? It was a matter of, we had the money to pay for a lawyer. No one would take the case.
We had money too. We offered, but depending
right
on
now,
the cases, yeah. If the cases are too complicated, or they feel like it's too complicated, or like you said, it's not a one of those high profile cases where it's just a slam dunk, they get really, really scared, and they don't want to take those cases because they don't feel like it's worth it.
Right.
But at the end of the day, you know, it's our baby, so
it's gonna be worth it.
We're going, yeah.
Right. And I think with the art, so Roxane, going back to the art of helplessness, right? I know for myself, just hearing those constant no's, the no's from the attorneys, right? And then both of you guys shake your head, you know what I'm speaking about, right? When you got to tell that story over and over and over again, right? And it's going to say, well, I'm going to call you back in a week. I'll check on other counsel, right? And you waiting to get that other phone call and to say, well, you know, this time we can't take a case, but keep looking for other attorneys to take a case, right? We all heard the same thing. So I know for myself, it started to create in me the sense of, well, damn, do I really have a case for Xavier if they're all turning me down? And then I was like, you know, wait a minute, I know what I saw is wrong. So I'm going to file in order for my son. Roxane, when that option was available to you, when it happened with Jamal, was the option available to you, or was it more so not knowing so?
Yeah, nobody ever even mentioned that to me. And like you said, hearing no, 9 times, right?
Wow.
And in addition to hearing no, hearing negative, right? Well, you really have a case, you know, we're going to be obstructed by this qualified immunity. I had never even heard of qualified immunity before my son was killed. And so you hear, you these people get in your head, and you feel like they're the experts because they're legal, you know, they must know what they're talking about. And then the learned sense of helplessness kicks in. Absolutely. Because I was depressed. I was, you know, grieving. Post-traumatic stress is all of it. And so all of those things combined make you feel like you don't have, you know, you don't have any recourse.
I don't think I felt like we really didn't have a case. I knew we kind of had a case. It was just in Jaylin's matter, it was to find those pieces. Because dealing with the system, they're going to put out what they want to put out. We know that.
Right.
They're going to give you half of the story. And, you know, with Jaylin being in another state where he was killed, and we're actually not, we have no residency there. We came across a lot of barriers because we were not citizens of Tennessee. And so a lot of things we couldn't get without a lawyer. Which is different in some, if you're like a citizen in a state and your child dies in a state, you can file for certain things. Well, when you're not, they put up these barriers for you that makes it really hard for you to get anything. So we literally had to build from ground up something for Jaylin. And then I had no family there. So even though his father's side was there, we didn't really have much support to really get any information. So I'm like going back and forth to Memphis. I'm calling around. I'm like literally stalking activists and all type of people on the internet who could possibly, you know, help me out. So that makes it kind of hard too. And it's really depressing when you just it's like your hands are tied and you just can't get anything. And then for an attorney to tell you, oh no, well, we'll take your case, and then they drop you, or you don't have a case, or we don't see enough here, go get this and then come back to us. And I'm like, I can't get anything because I can't file for anything. I need you. So
And what
it
you're
does
saying too, with you being
create
out of
that
state,
depression part.
with you being out of state too as well, you already know that like being out of state, we don't have the luxury of filing things like electronically, right?
Nope.
Because we're not attorneys.
That's
so
right.
if it happens to your child and your child lives 8 hours away, you don't have a luxury of doing nothing electronic. You got to take that long drive over there.
Yeah.
Try to papers over in the courthouse. So that again,
Right.
I think just, you know, when you start to think about all those obstacles of what you got to do and what you got to do and whatnot, right? Even if you know you have a solid case,
it's still
the
hard.
art of doubt can be still in your brain, right? Because you know you got to still overcome all these things to go through.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
But I feel like, you know, we as a people have to begin to educate ourselves. When Ashley, I think you had a couple of some big time folks on your case as well, right? As far as time is concerned.
So yeah, we've kind of went through we went through a lot of different channels here. So we have had some high profile, we've got drops. Right now we have Cochran, we have a couple of other attorneys that we've kind of kept private this time around. And we actually got somewhere. So you know, one thing I will say, every case is different.
Right.
You know, you have to be really careful with who your support system is. That has a lot to do with how successful you will be with your case as well, because you never know the connections that people have. If people have faith in you and they see that you're trying, they're gonna go out and try to go on a limb for you. So doubt, you know, depression, all that does play a part. You know, it got me at first. I'm not gonna even sit here and play like I wasn't one of those. I felt like I couldn't, you know, at some point felt like we wasn't getting anywhere. Even when we did have a big attorney on our case out of Chicago, that actually was the one that dropped us 3 weeks. I can laugh about it now, but I wasn't laughing at first because it hurted. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like we had you and I gave you all my information, and then now you're telling me you can't do nothing with our case.
And I think part of that too, actually, we had Joanna on here a few weeks ago, right? She had a Benjamin Crump. He dropped her case. It was a year. They had a year statute of limitations. She had to August to file. He dropped the case in like July or something like that. So imagine all this time that you're sitting here waiting around for your attorney to do this work. You ain't doing any work because you don't know that you need to do any work, right? And then they drop the case. Then it's like, oh my God, I got to scramble real fast, get some shit put together to go in and file real fast. So
and
I'm
telling you, like, that,
go ahead, Ashley.
It happened to us. It happened to us. Like literally, if I had not spoke to department, to DOJ, they were the ones that told me that we had a year to file.
That's crazy.
The attorney we had for months kept saying, no, you know, you don't got a year. It's not a year statute. So that tells me you didn't even do any work when you had my son's case. So they'll just sit there and they'll just hold it to the end. And then you feel like you just have your back is against the wall and you can't do anything. But you can't.
So that's why I think it goes back to the point of when we get these attorneys, right? We can't just almost like you have a doctor, right? Yeah. You ain't gonna doctor just operate on you and you ain't gonna ask no questions. You're gonna ask what's going on, what is this, right? Yeah. It has to be the same way when it comes to these attorneys, and even when it comes to silent cases pro se. No, people got to say, I'm not a lawyer. I don't care. That's still your child.
Right.
Right? You got to become that lawyer at that point in time to move forward. Right. So actually, let's talk about some of the steps that were taken in order to file pro se. You know, like again, like I said, we want to be about that action. We want to make sure we can educate others on what to do if that does.
Well, what we did in ours was we looked at a lot of similar cases that were, I looked at a lot of similar cases that were in Memphis, that was similar to Jaylin's, because I had no earthly idea what I was doing. And then I would pattern some of the things that I saw that were issues in Jaylin's that would be issues in other cases. You don't necessarily have to do all that. I'm just one of those people. I like to I like to try to get everything done, and I like stuff done a certain way. But so pretty much you need to look at your case. You got to figure out where are the areas that went wrong and who did what. Because pretty much that's all it is. And a lot of times with pro se, the judges aren't that tough on you because they know you don't know really what you're
That's
doing.
right.
So they're
That's
not
right.
going to be looking at the same thing in the complaint that they may look at if an attorney draws your complaint up.
That's right.
So you don't have to be a professional. I want to put that out there. So don't let it scare you because it has to go through the court system. You don't have to be a professional. What you know your child, you know your child's case better than anybody because I'm sure you go over it every day, multiple times a day. You find different things every time. So you put that into a complaint form, and there's lots of different templates online that you can use. So you're not out there by yourself. And again, if there's an error, a lot of times the judge will say, "Hey, go fix this," and then and submit it back.
That's right.
So they do that as well. It is not as hard as we think it is. Like I say, they don't have the same criteria when they're looking at a pro se complaint that they would from a complaint from a actual attorney.
And what I did, I use Pacer a lot, right? I talk about Pacer all the time. So you guys, again, as we talk about this podcast, please catch some of these keywords such as filing for Pacer. Yeah. Y'all, Pacer is a system that attorneys use. They are allowed to file electronically from the luxury of their homes, right? We don't have that luxury. We got to go to the courthouse. However, you can pull up and Pacer. And Ashley just mentioned about finding cases similar to yours. Now, I will say this. Some of Xavier's cases, I didn't stick up just in Virginia. I kind of just, within the circuit in itself, right? That's what I was looking for as far as those cases were concerned. When it comes to case law, that's what Ashley's saying. You guys find relevant cases, and you can do a Google search, and I promise you, it's gonna pop up, right? Literally, you can go to Pacer and find a complaint in Pacer. Literally, you can mock the same complaint and put in your words for the exact same complaint in order to file pro se. A lot of times we make it harder than what we think it really is, for real. I know some of y'all done cheated on some tests in school, so don't ever you have it.
Yeah,
I'm saying the little cheat cut way, right? It's the exact same thing.
And lawyers do it all the time.
They do it all the time.
Charge you, bill you a lot of money, but they do a lot of cut and paste all the time.
That's all it is. That's all. So, like Roxane, I think in the stumps too, we gotta just know how to play smarter, right?
That's right. That's right.
You know, it's not an overwhelming thing. So that's what I did for today's case. It took me a little while to write the complaint out. It was about 30 pages long because I was trying to be that professional, right? I was trying to make sure that I didn't want to mess up or whatever. I'm not gonna lie. When I went to court and the judge was like, "Okay, Ms. Payton, you're gonna have an expert witness," I'm like, "Yeah, I got one, right?" I know what the hell I was doing. But as long as I know that I can still fight for Zay's case, I was gonna still move forward, right? So I think a lot of people, we just at least get Karan Hilton, Karen Hilton, her son Karan got killed in DC. She wrote her complaint out, you guys, paper and pencil. She didn't type up shit. She wrote it out, her own handwriting. It was accepted by the courts to move forward in her son's case. Look it up. Oftentimes we tell ourselves we can't do it. So going back to the start of the podcast, how Roxane said, the art of helplessness, that is a learned behavior, right? The art of doubt, that's again another learned behavior. Like Ashley just said, people who are around you is important because they will tell you, some people around you will influence you and be like, well, you ain't got no case, girl, it's too hard, right? That's for them. Don't leave that in your own heart. If people ever get it done, you can get it done. Ashley, anything else you want to add on to this as far as what you can do to move forward when filing pro se?
What else did we do? I honestly, we went straight federal. That's another thing that I would suggest most people to do, because if you go federal, if it doesn't meet the criteria for federal, it's going to drop to state. So you still, the whole idea of this whole thing when you're filing complaint, you guys, is to get on the board game. It's to get on the game board. You see what I'm saying? So whatever it takes to get on the game board for you to be able to excel, to move forward in your case, however you want to look at, those are the things that you have to those are the things that you plan for. And for Jaylin's case, you know, I was like, let's go federal. If we don't get anything federal, then, you know, they're going to take us down to state, but we still on the board. You know what I'm saying? You got to give yourself enough room for anything to happen in between, and you can still win. And so now our case is moving forward with the pro se complaint that I wrote. You know what I'm saying? We did get attorneys, and I do suggest that when you file pro se, that does not mean don't get an attorney. It doesn't mean that. I still strongly suggest that you look for it, but it gives you some time to play around to get you a good attorney that's going to be able to back you up, that you will have faith in you and they will have faith in your case. That's really what's important, is to find representation, whatever you're doing, is someone that has faith in you as a parent and in that case. And then I promise you'll be able to move forward.
That's right. And then on top of that too, also like Ashley said too, in the meantime, when you're looking for the attorney, still play the role of being that attorney. Still begin learning how to look for production of documents.
That's right.
You gotta still like start playing that whole game, right? I know Ashley, for us, we file under Section 1983 as far as federal is concerned, right? And I only remember that. I remember that because that's the year I was born. That's how I knew that, right? But oftentimes, you guys look that up. A lot of attorneys are using what's called Section 1983. It's a federal law. It's a federal violation. That's what most of these cases are being filed under. It's under Section 1983. It's a federal code, right? Look it up, learn it, because
learn it all. Learn it all. Learn anything you can, because I promise you, nothing will go to waste. Nothing will go to waste. Learn as much as you can. There's books on Amazon that you can get. There's documents literally on Google that will walk you literally from how to do pro se in the circuit that you're in. That's one of the first things that you have to do, is to know where you're filing. And then it'll list everything you need to do. I promise you, they're not leaving you out there. Google it would be your best friend. And so also you do want to be guardian of your child or your loved one's estate, because that helps out a lot too. It's pretty much required in certain areas that you would have to do that. See, my attorney told us that we didn't have to do that. The second attorney we said we didn't have to do that. Come to find out, as I was doing research,
you have to do it.
We got to do this.
Yeah, that's what I did for Xavier's case. I became the administrator of the estate, and they were like, "What about his dad?" I was like, "He could sign his rights over, right?" So we had to figure all those things out.
And that's what happened with us.
That's part of it.
And then one of the things is too, with so with him passing in another state, it gets really sticky, because they want to know how long has that person been in that state to know whether or not you're filing for the guardian of a state in which state, and I'm like, well, my son, he was a resident of Atlanta, so that's, so it would be Georgia. But depending on those type of things, depends on where you file. And all that stuff is on Google. You don't have to wreck your brain. I always say, take a good shot or a wine cooler or whatever your favorite thing is, and go hit Google. Google it all. It's all there.
And don't get discouraged, you guys. When you call the clerk's office and they say stuff to you, like, as soon as you call the clerk's office, they're gonna, before you can say, they're gonna say, I can't give you any legal advice, right? So I when I called, I would say, listen, I know you can't give me any kind of legal advice. I'm not calling for that. I'm calling for a certain question, right? So I think just having the knowledge of what to do and just taking my own power back for my son, it has taught me a lot about following the case. Roxane, tell me this. Now knowing what you know now, how you feel about pro se?
If I would have known this 5 years ago, I would have definitely filed it. I got a question though. For pro se, that's only for civil suit, not for criminal. Can you file pro se for criminal, or that can only be done by a district attorney or?
That's district attorney. So I think that's what people get confused at, right?
Yeah, the criminal, right?
That's only for district attorney's office, period. Yeah. So when people, I hate when people be like, they'll have us thinking that we can do anything as far we can apply pressure. That's about it when it comes to DA's office and Attorney General's office, right? But when it comes to pro se, that has only to do with the civil side. That is it. That's it.
Yeah,
There's
because the
nothing that
DA
Ben
brings
Crump
up
can't
those
do
criminal
nothing.
charges. Yeah.
Right.
I think that's important to know, because a lot of times we, when we know, there's been a harm done and the state doesn't want to move forward, that we think, okay, can I do this pro se? But yeah, it's more for it's just for the civil side.
Well, the thing is, they gotta understand the civil is gonna get you on that board game. I mean, on that game board. You know what I'm saying? Criminal. If they're gonna give you criminal, they're gonna give you criminal. There's a lot of cases where we feel like criminals should have, criminal charges should happen, and they don't get there. But civil is gonna get you on that game board, and that's what's really important. That most people gotta realize with all these cases, don't let it die down. Don't give up on it, because the more cases that they see where these actions are happening and accountability needs to be held, if you sit on it and you don't worry about it, or you let somebody talk you out of it because you don't have a very good support system, then now it looks like it's only 5 police brutality cases when it was 30.
Thank you. Ash, I said it all the time. Because, like, again, too, we can't make case law without it. We need case law.
That's
and people say all the time, in order to be qualified immunity, we got to have cases that prove those points, right? So no one long time or not, we got to have that in order to beat it. That's what we use against us. They'll use that Graham versus Bell case, and use that same shit over and over and over again. Each case, they use the same damn thing, right? Each time. We don't have it on our side because people are saying, well, I can't get no money out of this. That's not what you're doing it for.
That's not
it's
it.
for
That's
case law.
That's right. We need that black and white. And that's gonna change. That's gonna change a lot of stuff. I don't think people realize that even when they create laws, it had to have a case study to say, oh, this is a problem or this is not a problem. So right now, what we're doing is we're creating this case study. And it takes all these cases to come together to say, oh, this is a problem. If we have no case study, we have nothing to back it up. Ain't nobody listening.
And I think they know too that a lot of us don't know this information, right? When I look it up online, when I pull up online, when people filing pro se, Google says, well, it's really rare. I ain't that. Just pull the damn cases up, right? We know it's rare. But how can we change the culture, you guys? That's what we're seeking afterwards oftentimes.
I think by having the information, like in this podcast, listening to other people who have been in the same exact situation that you have been, to give you that hope.
And I was saying too, trust, right? You have to be able to, when you hear another mom who said, hey, I've already done this or not, trust that. The same way y'all trust these attorneys you don't even know a damn thing about, right? But y'all will sign your damn life away, hope you get a damn check or some shit, right? When you have a mom who's saying, hey, I've been through this situation or not, trust that. Y'all put trust into them systems, don't do shit for you, right?
That's right.
But we over here trying to say, hey, we got to change our culture and our setting or not. So let's trust our process within our own people, our community, right? Begin our own community of building a trust foundation that we can begin to teach each other to move forward. Once we start doing that, y'all, we can be super powerful.
That's it.
That's right.
Because I Google things like national police brutality, and I'm like, there's really no awareness behind that. And it's so sad, because when you look at breast cancer, or you look at even gun violence, and you look at domestic violence, and you look at a lot of other things, they have so much power behind it because of what? Case studies. People see that it's a problem. So they're addressing it. If we don't make noise, we don't put it out there, then it just looks like, oh, it's just one out of every so often. When police brutality is huge.
It's huge, and it goes beyond the one case.
It's crazy. It goes so far back. And then, I mean, to see the numbers that we're looking at now is like slavery numbers. Like it is horrible. I look at the numbers every day. I'm watching the numbers to see, what's the percentage, what this year has done over last year, things like that. Because, we have we've been doing the Say Their Name monument. And so for you guys that don't know, Say Their Name Monuments is pretty much just a temporary exhibit where we try to remember all the lives that were lost to police brutality. And so we've been doing pretty good with that. And that's one way of me keeping up. But just looking at fatality, if I'm saying it right, fatalities, yeah.
Fatality rate.
And police brutality from 2013 to now, we're over 10,000. That means those are deaths, you guys.
It's crazy.
And we know there's way more.
Yeah.
Those are just the ones that's documented.
That's right.
But people have to kind of, they get a sense of normalcy, and because it becomes normal, right? I tell people all the time, though, what if they were still hanging us from trees?
Exactly.
Would be normal then, right? Because right now they're turning on the cameras and recording
They still are.
Yeah.
They still are in the South.
Yeah, they are.
Cases that they are. And we've even got a new case where a police ran over a young man. I think he was like 16, 17 years old. Ran him over in a car. Police car. Deliberately. Not an accident. So it's happening, and it's not as rare as we think it is. The only reason it seems as rare is because
it's not filed.
We're not talking about it. We're not putting it out there. We're not.
And then when you don't see Benjamin Crump come on the TV screen, you don't see them leave mad. See people think, well, like, it don't happen that often. I told somebody else too. I don't know if y'all noticed or not, but I keep talking about this on Facebook. Right? They had a tab at one point in time. They had the news up there. I think in January they took it off, but I was like, why would you do that when that's how we come? You know, some of us get our news like that sometimes, right? But I noticed too, because y'all don't want to talk about all the killings for police brutality and stuff. That's why. So you wipe it away, right? But it's happening more than what we're seeing. So y'all, just because you don't see a Lee Mann or a Benjamin Crump behind the case, please do not think the person does not have the case at all. Some attorneys just don't want to be in the fight to actually, if it's too much peeling back up the layers, they don't want to do so. But again, imagine that was your mother, your brother, your sister, whatnot. You want somebody to fight for them as hard as we're fighting for our kids as well. The point of this podcast tonight is one to, like Roxane loves to say, utilize all the tools in the toolbox. Right? So filing pro se is like getting that hammer out, right? You don't have a lawyer. You go get the hammer out and you go get some knowledge from the library and whatnot, and you begin filing your cases yourself. It's a process. And Ashley, tell them too now. I filed Zay's case in 2022. We still waiting for an answer right now from an appeals court back in May, right?
Yeah.
Tell them about the slow wait. They make you hurry up the wait.
It is. We filed December of last year. We do have a jury trial set. But they could say they could push it back.
They could change the date when they want to.
They could do all type of stuff. And that's where your support system comes in. And that's where you find something that's going to help give you that peace. You're never going to be the same. You're not. Don't let nobody tell you time heals and all that foolishness. You know, time allows you to cope. And that's what I like to tell people. You're not going to heal from it. This is your loved one. You're not going to heal like the way you were before. It's just like a vase. If you break a vase and you try to glue it back, it still got cracks. It still have those imperfections that come from the damage of it being dropped or thrown or broken. So it's okay to still have those cracks. But what you have to do is you have to find a new you. What's the new you? And when you find that peace within yourself and a good support system, then you're able to get out here and really help us tackle on these streets. Because it's hard out here.
And I'm gonna say this too, y'all. And even if some people might be saying on the podcast, I don't have a support system, and you might not, right? But find that group of people or whatever, right? But at the end of the day, even if you don't have the support system, keep in mind the legacy of your child or your loved one is still relying on you. It's still relying on you. So imagine
and you gotta think about too the new ones that we don't want to lose. So if you have grandkids, or if you got nieces, nephews, you know, these things don't have a name on it. It don't have a date on it. It can happen at any time. Right now, somebody is losing their loved one to police brutality. And it takes all of us to be able to make that change. And if we don't all stand up together, we're going to lose more and more. And I remember last year, I saw everybody posting all these Christmas toy giveaways. And I'm like, we keep posting them and doing all of that. But the problem is we're not going to have no kids to give them to if we don't fix the system.
Talk about it.
What toys are we going to be putting under a tree?
Talk about it. Talk about it.
So we got to stand up today. Like everybody needs to take a oath, like seriously, saying that they're going to do something that's going to change in their system, your community. You don't got to be all over the world. You ain't got to be in the spotlight. You don't got to be a mega person. Just do the change in your neighborhood, in your area, within your family. And then we'll start seeing a difference if we all tackle our little area and then go from there.
Yes. Don't give up, right? Don't give up.
And that's the perfect segue, I think, for our discussion that we started talking last week, I think it was, in introducing our community legal fund that we have established. We already have one partner, and we're still looking for other partners who are legal lawyers or have legal experience to be able to help impacted families navigate this very insidious system that treats people like us like we don't matter, right? But here's the part where you can do something. You can do something. Y'all listening to me that on Facebook or hear this later. We have decided that we want to have a fund drive, not that big of a fund drive, but nonetheless, an initial fund drive. Well, we want to raise $1,000 because we know we have to pay for the freedom. Freedom ain't free, right? And so what we're asking is if you will go onto our website, can you bring up the website, Melissa? www.lifeaftertheimpact.org and make a donation. Any amount is helpful, $5, $10. But we need your money. We need your funds. We need you to participate with us in building the system that we want to see.
All right. So here's the link, you guys, from the website. Melissa, you want to play the tape real fast too as well? And I want to say this real fast too. I would find it kind of funny when Zay first got killed, and I was told I was going to file a lawsuit. People would say stuff to me like, "Oh, you're trying to take blood money" or some stupid shit like that, right? And for a while, in my brain, I'm like, "Why would you say something like that?" But then I thought about it. I thought about this. I went into Walmart, right, and I slipped. I'm finna sue the pants off fucking Walmart, right? But I go to somewhere and they hurt me, and I'm gonna sue that person too, right? There's no difference within this at all, period. So I don't see what's the difference between me fighting for my son, right? It's the same exact thing, period. So y'all, please do not let somebody convince you out of what's right for your child. People like to put that stigmatism on you about, oh, you're doing this or not. Okay, that's what you call it, you want to call it. I will still fight for what's right for my son and everybody else behind me as well, because unless I got in the car saying I'm exempt, I can go outside tomorrow and get shot by the police and people don't give a damn about it, right? So I know for a fact that we're doing is right for our kids, like Ashley too, the people who are unnamed behind this. So you guys, again, the legal defense fund we're building, we're only asking for $1,000 to start off with. I say it all the time. With Xavier's one case, we spent $63,000 for one case, okay? But it's all the 10,000 cases. This is one case, so $1,000 ain't it. Let's be honest, okay? We're saying that we already have a team, it's Justice Connection. We're partnering with them in order to bring a place to the table. We need funds in order to still move forward. $5, $2, that you guys may have, please donate to our funds so we can keep moving forward.
That's right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for spitting knowledge to us this evening, telling us not to be afraid to file pro se. Thank you, ladies, for that knowledge this evening.
Of course.
You're welcome.
Yeah, this has been Life After the Impact. Don't just sit there with that learned helplessness. Find out how you can get involved. Have a good evening. My son was killed by DC Metropolitan Police. He actually died in custody. I was called in the middle of the night. Well, actually 3 o'clock in the morning. I will never forget. And so grieving, and I'm trying to find a lawyer, and they're telling me I got a certain amount of time before I'm no longer able to file any kind of wrongful death suit. And because of this thing called qualified immunity, I have very little recourse. I talked to 9 lawyers who all told me, no, they cannot take my case. No, I don't have a case. Imagine grieving and then not being able to pursue any kind of accountability for the death of your child. This month, we would be celebrating his 40th birthday. Oh. And on October the 1st, will be 5 years that my son has been gone, away from his family, away from his only daughter, away from us, the people who loved and care about him. So that's what makes me very passionate about this. It makes me very passionate about wanting to see not just justice for my family. If LaToya wins, then I win. If you in the listening audience wins, then we all win. Everybody can do something that you don't have to sit home and feel helpless and hopeless.
We gotta stop allowing people to talk us out of our power. That's the main thing.
Can't change overnight, but we gotta start somewhere. Might as well go